back to another episode of the Daily Log Diaries. In this week's episode, I wanted to talk and show you guys a bit of my weekly migration process in my Hobonichi Weeks, and I guess a little bit of my Hobonichi Cousin. My migration process kind of always starts with a little bit of backfilling. I like to say that I'm really consistent with my planning and journaling, and I reach for them most days out of the week, but inevitably there's always one day where I just absolutely do not touch my notebooks, and that day was Sunday of last week. So starting Monday off with a little bit of catching up. We had a bit of an excursion on Sunday, so I'm putting in the ephemera that I collected. We walked into a brick and mortar Scotch and Soda, which is a clothing store, and they had stickers. So I had a big Jane the Crazy moment and asked for some, and they gave me a couple. And we tried a new restaurant, and my sandwich tissue paper was being held together with some washi tape, and I cannot express how excited I was about this washi tape when I pulled my sandwich out of the to-go bag. And I decided I wanted to put both those things into my weekly spread. I typically have reserved ephemera for my daily pages, so we're just trying something a little bit different. But I also had this ticket from what we ordered, and I'm adding a little bit of extra adhesive. I use the Tombow Mono Removeable adhesive, and I get mine from JetPens, and I'm just going to use that to make sure it stays in place a little bit better. One of the things I enjoy about keeping ephemera in my notebooks is if I am behind in journaling like I am this week, it takes up about a quarter of the page, so less journaling if I choose to backfill it, or at least there's something down on the page that tells me a little bit more about my week. In general, I feel like I've really kind of hit my stride with my Hobonichi Cousin, and it might be my favorite part of my system right now. So moving on to my actual weekly migration process, because I didn't touch my notebook on Sunday, I'm starting again with a little bit of back planning and some cleanup. I will update my habit tracker, just make sure that I've got all 7 days filled in there. I look at my open tasks and I cross out anything that isn't worth moving to the next week, check off things that I did actually complete, add in any notes or memories that I want to collect, and then basically decide what needs to be carried over into the current or upcoming weekly spread. I like to put my events in with a brush pen. I'm using the Tombow Fudenosuke in the hard tip. I just like that it stands out a little bit better without me needing to use a sticker or a highlighter or anything like that. And the rest of my writing is done with my Pilot Vanishing Point inked with the Atramentis Archive ink, and I'll have all my pens listed in the description box if you want to check them out. My general weekly layout is left-hand page. I do create 2 columns, and I choose to ignore them whenever I feel like it. But in those columns, it's date-specific tasks or events along with notes, doodles, memories, and on the right-hand page, the innermost column is for highlights of my day, and those are just small things such as maybe a new song came out that I enjoyed, or maybe my coffee was really nice, just little things. And I will typically do a habit tracker at the top and a running to-do list for non-date specific tasks. I've also been experimenting with adding in notes over there as well, because I don't typically end up using the full page. But right now I'm sketching in a microphone with my Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip brush pen, because I spent all day Saturday working on audio with my husband. I recently got a new mic, and we're getting things set up with filters and software and trying to work on background noise and all that stuff. We're still dialing in the settings, so you'll have to let me know if you think it's starting to sound better. And I will pass it along to Mr. Lindsay Scribbles, who is doing all the hard work. Moving to my current weekly, I'm trying something a little bit different. I pre-decorated the week with some stickers. These stickers are from Daiso. I think I got them last year, maybe 2021. I have a lot of stickers. Daiso is a Japanese dollar store, basically, if you haven't heard of it. But it was really nice to pre-decorate my weekly pages. It's different for me over the last maybe 2 or 3 years. I've kind of gotten away from pre-decorating any kind of spread, and I've sort of relied on memory keeping via doodle or choosing a sticker to help me memory keep to kind of deco as I go. But since I've moved into the Hobonichi Cousin, and I'm really enjoying my time in the Cousin. Like, honestly, I've fallen in love with my weekly pages. Doodling in there just makes more sense for me right now, because trying to cramp all those things into my weekly spread ends up just being a bit of a hassle, and I think it looks a little bit crowded. And since I don't have a daily page, I really want that real estate for extra tasks. So pre-decorating was refreshing for this week, particularly because I was traveling and I was so busy that I didn't have a whole lot of time to update my notebooks, but I'll talk about that a little bit more, I think, later on in the video. Tuesday, I flew out for a work trip. Wednesday is lost to the ether, that is working remotely. And Thursday, I had some time in the airport, so I just added in some of the ephemera bits that I collected from the week so I wouldn't lose them. And Friday, touchdown really early in the morning. So now you can see how this week is kind of filled up. And I'm getting ready to set up next week. Since I enjoyed pre-decorating so much, I'm going to try it again. It embarrassingly took me like 9 minutes to do this, so we're just gonna have to listen to me chat for a while, because I'm out of practice about knowing where to put a sticker if there is no text already on the page. And I guess there's a little bit of writing. I consider myself to be a real-time planner. And what I mean by that is, once I think I have something I need to do, I just write it down wherever that is. If it's like 2 weeks from now, I'll just put it directly on that weekly or add it to that running to-do list or wherever I think it needs to go, as long as I'm within the current month. If I think it's something that I need to do 2 weeks from now, and real time for me, that is in March, and we're currently in February, that type of predetermined task, I just move on to my monthly. And once I set up for the upcoming month, I'll decide where that needs to go. The stickers I'm using are by Midori, and I'm pretty sure I got them from jetpens. They are clear and repositionable, which is kind of cool. And again, I am putting those down with some tweezers because they're pretty small stickers, and it just genuinely helps. I used to never understand this, and now it's my favorite thing. So I'm a total convert. I am trying to put down stickers in places where I wouldn't typically previously. My very left-hand column of the left-hand page always ends up being really text heavy. So I've been trying to kind of break up at least one day a week with a sticker there and bump things over a little bit more to the right, so it's not completely uniform text. But we're still figuring out what I like the look of. My final decorative touch is underlining my habit tracker, and I'm using my Sakura Pigma Micron in 005, which is a fine liner. And I'm also drawing a line between the bottom of the habit tracker and the running to-do list for the week. It's an aesthetics thing. I like how it looks, really. So the second half of my weekly migration is, what would I call it? I guess flushing things out a little bit. There are chores that I try and do on specific days, and as much as I would prefer not to write them down because I always do them on those specific days, I need the accountability and the endorphin rush that comes with having them written down and being able to check them off. So we wash towels every Monday. I water the plants on Tuesdays. Wednesday we wash sheets. Thursday's laundry. Friday we try and clean the house. And yeah, it's the same pretty much every week as long as I'm not traveling. But if I don't write them down, I just don't do it. So those still get written in. And typically, as I'm filling in sort of those date-specific tasks, things will come to mind that I need to accomplish. So I will just add to my list either the running list for the week or the date-specific list. Just sort of depends on the type of task that it is. And then I will start looking at my current week and migrating things forward. This is the Friday of the week that I am filming this, so I still have a couple days to knock a lot of tasks out in my current weekly spread, but I always kind of hit a point where I just know I will not be completing something over the weekend, and I will just go ahead and move that forward, that same sort of cleanup process that I mentioned before. And I'm sort of having the painful realization that February is practically over, which is just insane to me. So my monthly to-do list is still really long and not a lot of stuff is checked off on it. So I'm putting down sort of the must-dos from my monthly list into the upcoming weekly. I'm going to have to set a timer and try and knock out as much of this as I can in a short amount of time so I'm less overwhelmed. I can't, my birthday's in March, so I'm in denial that I'm about to be another year older. Speaking of, I am probably going to do another March plan with me or monthly plan with me as my next video. So hopefully you enjoy those. You'll have to let me know down below, but I am considering tacking on footage of flipping through my previous month. I don't necessarily want to dedicate an entire week to a flip through of my previous month, but maybe I could flip through the weekly spreads of my weeks and maybe just a handful of pages of my cousin right before I get into the plan with me, or maybe on the tail end if people want to stick around to the end. Let me know if you would be interested in doing that. I feel like I don't do as many flip throughs of my notebooks over on YouTube. Although the Daily Log Diaries episodes, I feel like I tend to flip through them just because naturally every time I use my notebooks, I flip through them myself. So a little bit of that happens. But if you have stuck around, thank you so much for listening or watching and in general being here. And I will talk to you soon.